All right, so I've got all my columns, I've got my arches. Any of the columns that do not have arches on them stay in the basement. So that gives you an idea. What's next? Well, now we need to do floors, walls, and then some carrying beams. So the easiest way to do it, I'm going to come to level 0 because that's where my drawing is, but unfortunately, I'm drawing from basement level. So it's an easy enough fix. I'm going to go to wall, architecture, going to be a generic 12-inch wall. We'll fix the materials later because I don't have the concrete with holes downloaded right now. I'm going to make sure I'm on finished face exterior, and I'm going to make my base constraint basement. And I'm going to make my top constraint level 0 for now. So all I'm going to do at this point is go around tracing this drawing, starting in this corner. Making sure I'm following what is clearly a wall. So this dashed line above is not a wall. So we're going to come in here. Technically, we would come all the way to here and then over. Same thing here. I'm going to come to this corner. Come. This is slightly off compared to the other. Let's see. Yeah, that was on the grid, so I'm going to stay on the grid and ignore the image. Come over here, down. This is a little tedious, but it's not too bad. So here's where it gets a little funky. These, as you can see, are ventilation tunnels. And if you look at the Google Maps from outside, you can see this wall, but you can't see this. This would be below the ground. So if you're going to model those, you're going to come back later and model them slightly differently. So right now we're just going to focus on the ones that we care about. And we'll get to the ventilation ones later if we need to. All right. So now if I go to my 3D view, you can see I've got walls all the way around. This is the back entrance. And again, if you go to Google Maps, these are visible. And if you go to Google Maps, all these ventilation walls are underneath the ground, but these walls are visible. So if you create those, make sure you create them separately so that you can change the height on them. If you wanted to do that, it's I would just come in here and I would come until I'm aligned with that blue dot and then up here. Now, because it's a separate wall, I can change the height on these independently from everything else. All right, so I've got my wall. Where does my floor go? I'll go ahead and finish this off here. I'm gonna leave this one short. Actually, yeah, I'll do this, and then I'll use the align tool. So now that's in place. It might be a little short, that's fine. I'll just drag it up until it touches the other wall but doesn't intersect. So I come back to 3D. I've got these secondary ventilation walls. I've got all these others. Now I need a floor. I'm gonna go back to my level 0. And I'm gonna come to architecture, floor, architectural. And again, the base of this is the basement. It's gonna be beneath our building. Now I can just switch to pick lines. And I can come in and just pick all these outside faces of all the walls we just drew. Oh, did I pick a wrong face? I did. So I'm gonna delete this one because we don't want that. Undo that. So we only want just this tiny bit. So I'm gonna tab till I get just that segment. Again, I'm gonna tab until I just get the small segment. Full length. This part gets a little tedious just because of where it is. It might be quicker just to switch to line here and just draw this bit. Now I can go back to pick line, making sure I'm on the outside face of each one. All right, that should be everything. Let's see. It'll tell me if I made any mistakes. Lines gonna intersect each other. Highlighted lines. So somewhere in here. There we go. I'm gonna click continue. I'm gonna use the trim tool. Gonna click continue. I'm just gonna so I've got two of them here. Delete that and try again. Where did I mess up this time? All right, so my problem was in here with these ventilation walls I created because my original one went all the way. So I just had to trim this corner and this corner. I'm gonna click OK. I'll come back to the 3D view. Now you can see we got a floor that goes underneath all of these walls. All right, now we're gonna go to the main level and we're gonna make another floor. This one's not gonna have the exact same footprint. And again, like I said before, you don't see these ventilation walls from this view. So it's actually gonna be a little smaller. And if you look over here, it actually cuts in a little bit. So it's a little funky. We're gonna work with it though. We're gonna go to architecture, floor, architectural. And we are gonna make sure we are using a 12 inch. We probably didn't on the other one, but we can fix that. And we're just gonna draw lines. Sorry for all the zooming in and out, but it's the easiest way to make sure I actually hit where I want to be. And again, we went to the grid line with this. So we're gonna match up here. We're gonna keep that opening above the rear entrance. All right. Making sure we're on the outside of each of these columns. And we are not creating a floor where those ventilation walls were. We're also going to make this walkway separately because it's at a different height. So ignore this last column. We're just doing the building. All right, so I'm going to click OK. It's asking if I want walls to attach. I'm going to say don't right now so that I can show you how to fix it later if yours aren't attached. So I'm going to say don't attach. Now in the 3D view, we've got this other floor, but you can see there's a gap in between the walls and the floor. So I can fix that pretty easily. I'm just going to go to my front view. I'm going to use my right to left. I'm going to use the filter, and anything that's not a wall, I'm going to ignore. I'm going to click OK. But again, these walls, which are funky right now. Oh, because we drew them the other way. Yeah, good. They're not highlighted. I made a mistake that came out to my benefit. So now once they're all highlighted, I can click attach top base. And then I click the floor. And you see they all go up to the floor. You can do the same thing with any of the columns that don't go all the way up. Now these ones I can fix right now. So I can highlight all these and I can say their base is basement. And they go up to level 0. Apply. And now they'll be lower. We might have to lower them even more once we put our topography in. But hopefully these will be hidden once we put our ground in. All right, so I've got 2 floors. I got my lower walls. Now I'm going to show you how to do the upper walls. I'm going to go to my north elevation. I'm going to come to wall. That's weird. Never mind. I'm going to go to my main level. I'm going to do it here first. So I'm still going to draw it in this same space, A1, so that I know where I'm going in my elevation. I'm going to go to wall, architectural. Now we're going to duplicate this and we'll apply travertine material later. So I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to cut it 12-inch travertine. And I'm going to click OK. It's still finished face exterior, and we're on the main level up to roof. I'm just going to draw one that goes in between these columns. Unlike the lower floors where we were wrapping all the way around, these just go in between. So if I go to my north elevation, you'll see, what about this bit? How are we going to fix that? So we're going to do that. You got to make sure it's highlighted. And you click Edit Profile. I'm going to use pick line, and I'm going to pick the underside of this arch. I'm going to delete this interior one because it'll give us an error message otherwise. I'm going to click OK. So now we have a wall that completely fills that. And again, this is why it was super important to have all of these match dimensions. Because now I can just click copy. I'm going to unclick constrain, and I'm going to go from A, C, to E, to G, to I. This is your outdoor walkway, so there is no actual wall there. We're going to do the same thing here. We're going to come back to main level. We're going to draw a wall, and it's going to be our travertine, and we're just going to come from inside to inside. Now if I come here, I don't need to adjust anything on this, I just need to copy it. Make sure I unconstrain, copy it anywhere there would be an actual wall. Okay, that's one whole row. You can come to your 3D view. You can highlight all of these and copy them over. Keep in mind that these are gonna need to be shifted because of the fact that right now we're on the outside edge and they are not the full dimension of the arches. I tried to cheat last semester and make them the full dimension of the arches, and for some reason that created a glitch where it would change the profiles in here. But I don't recommend that. Instead, I'm just going to go to top view. I'm going to click copy. And I'm going to go from here to here. And then this is the start of the next section. And I'll just delete the bits we don't actually need. To here, to here, and here. So obviously, these don't need to be here because there's no arch here. I did something wrong with this copy. It's all shifted. And the last copy. So let me just undo a bunch. Undo the last two copies. Anyway, I'm not going to keep doing it because you see the process and this will just make the video longer. So, whoop, we've got walls that match. You would put walls in between these arches as well. We'll change them after the fact to be whatever they are in the real model. So these walls along here, we're going to create those. Going to go back to the main level. I'm going to go to architecture wall. And so now for these long walls that are not in between arches, we're still going in between columns. And that is, yeah. I'm going to turn off chain so I can do more than one at a time. Come in between arches here, or in between columns, I should say. In between columns here. any of them, again, this is open air, we're not drawing one here. Any of them that are different material, like the entrance, which is a curtain wall, we can draw it now, and then we can still change the type later. So don't feel like you need to just constantly be going back and forth and having the accurate wall type. You just have to make sure and go back eventually. All right, let's go back to 3D. And it's not complete because I still haven't copied all my walls. But I've got my long outside walls. I've got my custom ones in between. I've got a random model line that I can delete. So the only other thing that you need to do before Wednesday is the carrying beams. So there's beams that connect these that run along near the top. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to my north elevation. And I'm going to do a component, model in place. And I'm going to call this one structural framing. Click OK. It's going to be an extrusion. And I'm going to set the grid to 1. I'm just making a 2x2 square. I'm going to make sure it's concrete cast in place, just like everything it's connected to. I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to disassociate this because we're copying it a whole lot. All right, so before I finish, I'm going to go back to my 3D view. I'm going to go to my top. Make a wireframe just so I can see more easily. And so now this is going to run from the inside of this column all the way down to the inside of the next column. Once I've done that, I can click finish. I'm going to go back to realistic for a minute. And so now I've got this carrying beam. You can see it's cutting into the wall. So I have to come back to this wall and I have to say attach top base. And then I can click that. That's not working. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do instead, I'm going to have to highlight the wall and I'm going to have to do a top offset of -2 feet. Apply. And now we don't have this conflict where geometry's going over each other. Same situation as everything else. Once you've done this, you can highlight it and you can start copying it based on the grids. So I can copy from here to here to here. Now this one will get a little funky because we've got these in between ones. So I'm going to skip that one. These carrying beams exist in between all of them. So we would have shorter ones here. Since we disassociated it, I can just copy this. And now I can try and see if it'll let me split the element. No, it's not going to let me split, but that's fine because we disassociated it. All I have to do at this point now is make it in between each column. I can copy it again, then I could copy it down until I have 6 separate beams here. And that is it. Once you've done all your copies, this is incomplete. but it shows you the process of how to make each of these things. Get that done by Wednesday, and we will move on to kind of the more challenging bits, which is the barrel roof, the skylights, and the light diffraction. Enjoy the weekend.